We got a mess here, guys. All right, so who's ready to start the install of the Collins adapter, ACT clutch, ZF transmission, and everything else that we're gonna try and accomplish on this episode on the SC300. Let's get started. Time to get dirty. Welcome back. So look at that, we got the transmission out. Doesn't really look like the rear main seal was leaking. I spent a lot of time wiping this down. It was like a waterfall from up there. Literally, it's probably leaked like 5 quarts or whatever over time down the bell housing. The back of the transmission was disgusting, and then it even seeped through up here and down here on each side. But then there wasn't a lot of oil here. I did wipe it, but not much here. Usually you'll see like a lot of buildup right there. You see a little bit, but I don't know, it doesn't seem horrible, so I'm not gonna replace that rear main. Usually you'll see it leaking, not here at the mating surface there, but this one where it spins. That's simple stuff, don't worry about that. Now, here we have the Collins kit. This is the Collins CD09 adapter kit. So here's your adapter to the ZF trans. This will bolt to the JZ, leaving just enough space for the starter to plunge through there and hit the teeth on this, and then you bolt the ZF to that. This is, I know it's quite a thick flywheel, interesting setup, but this is so that it'll make up the difference from where it would be to get the clutch to be in the right spot compared to, you know, the M52 or M50 that it would have been on, and now it's on a JZ compared to for the ZF. So we're gonna mate these ACT parts up to this flywheel, and we're gonna bolt all that stuff on, then we'll bolt this on, then we'll do the ACT stuff. Try and get all that on video for you guys. If not, I'll show you before I put the transmission in. Then we're gonna need to make a hole for the clutch pedal, and then we're gonna have to install a clutch pedal in a car that never had one. And we're gonna have to make room for the new, it's not new, but we replaced the OEM automatic brake pedal with a stock SC300 or Supra brake pedal. This is a Supra one. This is also a Supra one, but this will fit in a SC. I might have to do one tab, I think. It's either down here or here to make it work right, but done it before, I'm gonna do it again. So gonna get started on some of this stuff today. We will get the trans in there. Oh, and then we need to weld the exhaust. I also got some of these smaller, the stamped steel V-band style ones. These are a little cheaper than the billet machined ones, and in my opinion they're easy to do. Like if you're gonna MIG weld and you don't care about it very much, I just grab these. So this will slip fit over this. This is 2.5, and then so I'll cut it back here, weld it on so I can still have stock exhaust and keep it quiet. And the other one will slip fit. If it does, great. If not, we gotta weld a little bit, but we'll cut this and get that on there, and then we can do like a tight turn down here for a 45, because that's kind of close to the ground, but that's just how it is. Or possibly weld this with a 45 on it and put, I don't know. No, it's better to have the V-band. Ah, dang it, that is low. That's lower than like 4-inch downpipes on Supras. Anyways, just how they have it, I guess. We'll be fine. This car's not gonna be slammed. So I got those. I had set up putting a new bearing, release bearing, and then I put the right fitting on here so I can make a line for that. So we're gonna need to make 4 or 5 lines, some for here, some for the back, some for the clutch, but I'm gonna get back on it, start working on this Colin stuff. Oh, another thing Collins does is he makes the Guibo adapters, or flex disc adapters. This is a stock flex disc, but he makes these adapters. So he supplied one for the rear diff, which is for the SC300 or Supra. He also supplied one for the trans, and then that's if, I guess you had a BMW diff, but I don't, so just extras. And then this is the hardware that he supplies, so it's a pretty inclusive kit. You guys should check it out. On top of that, they have kits for like a CD09 to a JZ, or you know, a ZF to a V8, or a CD09 to a V8, stuff like that. They have all kinds of kits. Lots of options out there. It's really easy to figure out the trans for the motor that you might have, or switch up to a different trans. So pretty cool. All right, gonna get back to this. We are making a huge mess right now. There's stuff everywhere around the cars. Inside here is pretty bad. So I got the brake pedal on, super easy. Don't have to take anything out. You just need to replace the other pedal with that pedal. It's like 2 bolts, one kind of through pin thing and 1 bolt. Okay, when I got here, there was that center hole out of those 3 holes already drilled. Someone had something slip through there, I don't know, and removed, and there's rust on it. But anyways, I'm just gonna open that hole up much larger so the master can go through there. Those other 2 holes, this one and that one, I just drilled because we're gonna put this billet piece from Titan, sells it. Let's go to the other side of the firewall. So Titan sells this. This is how you can mount through there. You mount, you'll mount it like this, and it allows you to, I'm losing everything, guys. Allows you to mount this, tilting straight up and down, instead of using an OEM Toyota one. But yeah, it'll be like this. So we're about to set that up. Not too much room in there, it's pretty tight, but we'll make it happen. So I gotta put these studs going that way, and these shorter studs going this way, and then we can mount it all up. So I'm gonna do that, and then show you guys when it's done. First, I guess I gotta drill out that center hole though, much larger, so I'm gonna do that. Then I'll have the clutch pedal, then I can mount the clutch pedal in there and set this up too. Whoa, cigarette butt. Kind of dirty. Let me keep going, and then we'll get this set up a little better. Alright guys, forgot to film for about 2 hours. Mounting up this, made like this piece. At first, I bent it up and it was pretty even. I decided to lower this and cut a bunch of material off the bottom of that, and I didn't feel like rebuilding it, so I just cut out a triangle. I'll weld it, it'll look pretty good once it's all in there. And then I'll remove this and sand any sharp edges. We mounted this shifter. This is that short shifter for the ZF. Whoa, spider webbage. I was grinding with a wire wheel all the seam sealer so I can weld there, and it just shoots around everything. But anyways, we got 3 pedals now. Clutch, brake, gas. About to have a hydro at least mounted. It's not gonna be plumbed or anything, but hydro will be mounted. The reason you see it kicked a tiny bit off this way is because I like to have, so we don't have the Sparco steering wheel in here yet, but steering wheel will sit roughly around here. And I like to do 3 or 4 fingers in between, so your hand won't bump this. Like if you had it 2 fingers, you could drift, but let me tell you, it gets sketchy. So I like it to be like basically a hand width away, but then all your controls are close together, so we're good there. Finished product of this is down in there. That's in. The headlights are on. I don't want to kill the battery. I gotta turn this off. That's where we're at on what we're doing. I'm about to, it's like 8 o'clock tonight, so I'm about to weld that in, or tack that last piece, pull the hydro back out, make sure everything's kosher to weld, then I'm gonna weld it up around that, and then I'll probably hit it with paint tomorrow because it's been a long day and can't work till like much past 9 and then be productive the next day also. So that's kind of how my little system is. I stop around 9. All right, I'll get back to that. I'll show you when I'm done. What's up guys, we're back. Last we left off where I was welding in the mount for the hydro handbrake and mounting the Samsona shifter. Let's take a look at it. I've painted it. It's all in. It's not plumbed or anything, but at least it's sitting where it will, and we hit it with Steel-It. We got some Steel-It from Chris Forsberg, hooked it up, and that stuff paints really good. So yeah, it's black. There's nothing else black on the car, but whatever, it's a drift car. It looks clean enough, and I don't have gold paint, and maybe one day I'll paint this car not so old people color. So we're breaking this video up into mini parts for you guys, but I'm trying to accomplish, you know, lots of stuff each day that I do get to work on it, or in the evening after work. So today I'm gonna pull the diff out, and I'm going to also, I'm probably gonna drop the subframe. I gotta do a lot of stuff in the rear, so let's raise the car and I'll talk about it real quick. See how the stock handbrake's been removed, and I kind of just threw it over there, and the cable's running in through the trans tunnel there. So I'm gonna end up taking out stock handbrake today. That'll be one thing. I'll remove that, kind of remove as much stuff off this rear spindle as we can that's basically e-brake related, and wheel speed sensor, because we're not gonna use any of that. We already disabled the ABS and wheel speed when we undo the front ones, which they don't go into WiseFab, so you can't do anything about it. Yeah, we're not gonna have ABS. We didn't need ABS, it's a drift car. So then what we're gonna do is get this cable out like I'm talking about and all the crap that's inside there. The weird thing about the later model SC300s is these axle nuts or bolts here are M10 instead of M12. So they have a smaller like thread pitch and stud size in here. Well, I guess they're probably still 125 thread pitch, but we gotta, I think I can't even use these axles because like all my diffs that I have that I had bought over the years that are welded and set up, they're the earlier gen SC ones or actual Supra ones, and they use M12 studs, so I got a separate set of axles. Or what I could do is knock these stubs out and shove those stubs into a pre-welded diff. I might do that so I can just keep running these axles and not have to source another set or whatever. Save some money there. Or I think I have a set anyway. So I'm gonna change this lower arm to some Megan Racing hand-me-downs that came off of that car. They're gonna be a little loose here, but they're free, so we're gonna just roll with it. And then I'm going to weld on second set of calipers. I got a left and a right. Those are gonna go, I weld on tabs and they go up in that area so that your second caliper sits here. I'm gonna try and do that today as well. Also, I had some hand-me-down battle version solid bushings that I could put here and here, but to do so I gotta drop the rear subframe. There is quite the amount of work, but what I was thinking is maybe I just pull the whole subframe out, and then when it's out and it's like I could kind of stand on top of it on the ground here and work on it, I could crack all these bolts loose, because they're half the time they are rusted shut on high mileage cars that haven't been messed with. And as you guys can see, there's rust on here, so it worries me. In the past with the SC300 from a customer we worked on, I had to weld a head of a nut onto each one of these, or Joe did, sorry, not me. We came up with a plan together, and then, yeah, that was a crap job. It took like 2 hours to get some axle nuts out because the dude wanted to rebuild his diff. And then I'm also putting those TurboFun, if you go like turbofun.no, because it's .Norway, they build a really nice poly bushing with a metal insert, so it still has some give, but it's much more rigid than OEM. And you put them for the 4 mounts on the diff. I need to do that. We just got a lot of stuff to do, or I do, so I'm gonna get started. I'll film most of it. I'm also gonna finalize putting the transmission in today and build a mount. So I have 4 things I need to weld, which is the linkage for the shifter. you need to like set the length of it, cut it down. Let me show you real quick, it's pretty cool setup. Here's an OEM shifter, linkage. Here's the one from Samsona, so you slip this rod into that and then at your desired length, and then you weld it, and then you cut the other end with that slipped in when you find your desired length. So they give you a decent amount of tubing here, the stainless tubing, but you're gonna cut it shorter. See how that one's shorter? It depends on the chassis, obviously, but so I gotta build that. I gotta build tabs to hold the second caliper on. Show you how I do that. I gotta build a trans mount, and then I also was thinking, if I can get this stock sway bar to work, I could just weld like another 1/4 inch, like a tab, like a weld tab. Those big heavy duty 1/4 inch ones, that still has a hole the right size for this, which that's like a M8 hole there. I'll do something like that on this and see if I can get away with running a stock sway bar without it interfering with the wheel at full lock. So what I probably need to do first is throw a wheel on there and go to full lock and make sure I have clearance, which when I look at it, it literally looks like I would clear comparing to how I have it set up here, because it's like roughly the same, but as you can see, I've like kissed the edge of that before with a tire, but it's only like, I think when I forgot to tighten the collar down on this and it had movement, because it's not like it's rubbed polished through. But if I have the room there, I should have the room here. I don't know, it looks like you might rub right here, but we'd have to find out. So 4 things I gotta weld, then a lot of stuff with the rear diff, the rear axles, the bushings back there. So I got my work set out for me today, so I'm gonna get to it as fast as I can. We'll see how far I get today. Today's Saturday, then I also have Sunday. So I'm gonna do a bunch of stuff. I don't know, we're drifting this car next week, hopefully. That's my plan. And I'm gonna try and show you guys every step of the way so that if you have a SC or something else that, you know, similar, you can see how I did what I did, and it might help with your build at home. All right, let's go. What's up, guys? It's getting super difficult, super fast, because this car has so many miles on it. Let's talk about some crap here. So these were impossible to undo. Lots of heat and hammers and all kinds of stuff. I had a ball joint remover, it didn't want to work. It's just there 200 and almost 40,000 miles of like, you know, never coming on and off. So anyways, finally got this side off, and I realized I can't get to 0 toe, which I need to be at 0 toe. Okay, first I just wasn't gonna take it off, and I was just gonna adjust the cam bolt, the eccentric bolt, and I can't get to 0 toe. This is maxed out basically on this side, and if you look at it, you're close, but just eyeballing it, like you're here, so you need to be, you know, more like this. That's just eyeballing it. So let's say we have 1/2 degree of camber right here. That's just gonna wear out the inside of my tire when I'm drifting. Just gonna cost more money, less drifting for the tires. And so anyways, then I was like, okay, I'll put some used up, beat up, adjustable lower control arms from like 2017 season from Megan Racing that I had. Since the subframe pickup point is 2 inches in, like on a Supra, the pickup point for the lower control arm is right here. So if I adjusted it all the way out to where these threads are gonna like fall out, then it was like kind of gonna work. It's just gonna only have like 1 overlapping thread, because right now we have about this exact same amount of threads on the inside as we do right here. So that's safe enough for drifting. So what I did is add this section here. It's 1 inch longer now, but there's a 7/8 inch of overlap right there. And I just barely ground it down, like just rushed and welded. It's not the prettiest thing. I don't care though. I'm gonna spray paint it. I'm just trying to hurry, because now these are like added steps that I wasn't trying to do, and this car is gonna get hammered on anyway, and that was a beat up arm, so I'm not gonna make it all beautiful if I'm gonna go bend it. So don't worry, it doesn't look that great. I'm gonna do the other arm, copy exactly what I just did on this arm. Then I'll put, like, I'll be kind of set. I'll undo this bolt. This bolt doesn't have a nut on the other, so I'll slide it out, and then I can drop the subframe. And I figure I'll do the bushings and that stuff with subframe out, and I'll get that other diff out, and maybe I'll work on Actually, one thing I might do before I drop that out is get this stuff off with a like chest height, because once I drop this out, it'll be down on the ground, make it a little harder to work on, to get all these intricate little pieces of crap out for, you know, these springs and spacers and stuff for that handbrake. That's the next mission right there, is one more arm, then remove handbrakes. Then after that, I will drop the diff out, or drop this out, and then I'll work on the diff bushings and whatnot. Probably just gonna put this backup diff I had right here. This is a Baby Blue's backup diff, but it already has those bushings pressed in, so it has some of the hard work already done. The next time I drive Baby Blue though, better not break a diff, because then I'll be like, no! Nah, it doesn't happen that often, I'll probably be fine. What else challenging thing did we run into that I didn't kind of video? That was about it. It was just quite tight. Everything's just like seized up on this car. So let me get back to it, and then I'll share the removal with you guys probably of that and how I do it usually. We'll start working on that stuff. You always get less done than you imagine you could finish in one day's work, because like you run into these hurdles and issues like take up time. You guys know, if you work on cars, you know, and if you don't work on cars, you just like watching us struggle. I'm telling you now, so now you know. I'm not dropping the subframe, changed my mind. I don't have these bushings. I thought I did, but I had an extra set of diff bushings that were like the billet aluminum ones. I don't want to run those because you break your diff that way. I do want billet aluminum subframe bushings, but we're not going to do that right now because I'm not buying those. Kind of dirty, but who cares. So here we have our dual caliper setup. I want to show you how I did it real quick. This side's tacked in place. So let's see if we can see this. It's just tacked. It's like a 3/16 inch bracket that you can weld directly to the hub. It's not perfect. It's just like simple way to do it on a Supra or SC knuckle. So it's pretty convenient actually. The way that I space it is I take this feeler gauge and I find out where the stock one is kind of happy. The stock one, of course, is in the right spot. Like I find out where this will slip through pretty easily, and then it's weird because it's like the same measurement on all the sides, not like the side and where the bolt bolts through. So I just kind of, oh, and up here too, it's just odd. It's like all exactly the same measurement. I just build it to where it's like really close to that. I don't know, one of these things, it's like 25 thousandths. It's not like that technical, it's just my handbrake and I need it to lock up. So as long as it's not like rubbing anywhere or grinding into the rotor itself, we're good. It looks pretty good. The only thing I'm not liking right now is how close this bottom corner is, so I might have to bend that tab a tiny bit. But that's the convenient part about this, is you can bend the tab. What happens is when you weld like both sides of that tacked, it's gonna pull that tab this way because the heat, you know, once it starts to cool down, it'll yank it that way. Yeah, this is too loose. So what I should do is hit this with a hammer, a tiny bit, because I don't think if I take it off right now, which I am about to take the caliper off and the rotor off, and then I'm gonna weld that side, I doubt it'll move enough for me, because with the heat from the other side it could pull it back. I doubt it will. But anyways, let me show you on this side. We haven't even started yet. There's the extra caliper. I'm just using NA Supra calipers. Here's the tab that I've kind of arced it so it'll sit on that part of the, there's like an arced part, so it'll land right there, and I just weld along both sides. Same with this one, just sits flat, so then you weld on both sides. Pretty simple stuff, guys. Not every car will fit, or the caliper, you might need a different type of caliper because like there's not the right amount of space. With the Supra, there's plenty of space. There's almost space where you could put 3 if you wanted, but there's no use for 3. So I'm gonna keep tweaking on this. See how far I get today. It's just been fighting every step of the way, which is normal with the old car, but I gotta get this just right. I got these arms in, so the toe arms are in, so I can have 0 camber and still be able to have 0 toe or a tiny bit of toe. Before it was gonna be towed out with a stock arm. I did this setup here. I thought about it for a while and it looked like I didn't build it strong enough, so I slipped another piece of DOM tubing over the whole run of that and then welded it twice again after the extension I had made. I just thought, I don't want to dirt drop and bend an arm and be like, why didn't I back, you know, like today, back then, which will be today, but later I'll be saying back then. So I just did it. Let me finish these calipers and see if we can get that diff out. Alright guys, both dual calipers are set up. Stock axles from the SC are out. The reason I switched them out, I did have new hardware, but then I thought about it for a long time. All my diffs have different flanges. So with the larger bolts, these are M10. See how it's sloppy in there? These are harder to get in and out. They're just crappier, I don't want them. They're weaker. M8 or M10's fine. M12 is kind of overkill, but it's just easier to get the Allens in and out because it has a larger head on the Allen. And then all my diffs have this flange that has, yeah, M12. The M10s, like on that smaller one, only use 98, 99, and 2000 SC axles, and then like some of the other Lexuses. That's out. Now I have this Sawzall. It's really dirty, and I'll show you what's happening here. These have liquid in them, so it just spills out and dumps everywhere. I tried to get in the trash can, but since the blade's going, it kind of like sprays everywhere. So you cut out the center so you can have like a good, hit it this way going down so the blade's going in and out, and you just try and go like 80% through this layer, but you don't want to hit the subframe. It's easier to see on this one, like you're gonna go just through this layer of metal here, but not all the way through it, and then you'll take like a little chisel punch and you'll just hammer it really hard, like up this way, and then you'll like get another screwdriver and like drive it in here, like one you don't care about. Basically, pry bar, something you don't care about that you can just get in there, because if you use a nice screwdriver, they ruin it, but don't use a gear wrench one. You can like knock the metal housing out and then we'll put the other bushings in. This is just, oh, look at how dirty I am. Today's just sucks because everything's so, no, it doesn't suck, but you know what I mean, like everything's rusted and it's been a lot harder to do, but we're getting everything done. I was hoping to mount the transmission by today. Didn't happen yet. Gonna keep going. I'll show you once the diff's in there, or maybe right before I do the bushings. This one, I think I cut it just perfect. Yeah. So, if you do it just right, you can like feel it let go. It's hard to film and hammer, but anyways, I cut it all the way through on most of it. Not on that rear ring, but all the way through except that last ring. When you go up here, it didn't even like, there's a tiny gouge in it right here, but it only goes like a little bit further, like maybe 1/4 inch back. This one I did the hard way where I like didn't cut all the way through and I had to hammer a bunch before it would fall out. But now that it's out, I'm gonna put those Turbo Fun bushings in. I'll show you guys when I'm doing that, but I need 2 hands right now. We'll put those in and then we'll put the diff in. See how they're like the kind of orangish yellow color? That's how these other bushings will look. And literally, you rub some grease that's supplied with them on there and just shove it in there. It's so easy. They're like 3 times as sturdy as the other ones. I wish they made the rear subframe bushings, but instead I gotta do the solid aluminum, but we'll get those later. Okay, so TurboFun is the website and their Instagram also. They are called Strong Flex. I'm gonna rub some of this grease on that side, the outside of it, and a little bit on the inside. This is like knurled, so it has some texture to it on here, and then this needs to face the back so I can get the Allens in there. Literally just, you kind of like get it in, this one in there, and then you start hammering this from the other side until it's nice and snug and it's not going anywhere. That's it, let's do it. Alright guys, I cannot wait to be done working on this today. But anyways, see this? M12 has a 10 mil Allen opening and it's a M12 shank. This one's a M10. That's why I wanted to use these. They're just beefier. I got a lot of spares. I have 0 spares except those ones you saw over there, the other style. So I'm setting this guy up with all his studs in here, and then, whoa, don't drop anything. Putting all these studs in here. And then I'll do the other side. As you can see, the bushings are in. I got the Colin's adapter plate on there. So we're close to completing the rear end area. I had to move this out of the way to get the axle in. Of course, this axle didn't want to come out, so I was slamming it with a huge hammer. This one, as hard as I could. Finally came out, and don't worry, I heated it up. I am so dirty, and I fought so hard with this stupid car today. You guys know what it's like to fight with cars if you worked on one, but this one, not fun. Ooh, let me get you a visual of these bushings. Super nice, easy to work with. It's actually not the easiest thing to get this part in. It's probably easier to do than the steel or aluminum ones that are out there, but I fought with it for a second, but it's in. These axles that I'm putting in here are NA, Supra NA axles, but I don't think this, I mean, if they break, we'll put some turbo ones, but not a lot of horsepower going through this. Maybe I just suck at working on SC300s, huh? This was hard. No, it's a beat up. No, it's just a rusted out car. It's not beat up. Not really rusted out, just some of the stuff I was taking apart's never been apart and it had rust on it. Just in conclusion for today, what we did is not as much as we wanted to do, but I'll include one more day of work on the car for this next video, which will be trans install. Not too exciting, but I'll put it in and build a mount, show you guys how I'm building that mount, and then build the line, probably for the clutch line, and then that'll kind of be our ending of this next series. And then on the following one, if you guys stay tuned, I'm going to build all the brake lines and install the Sparco interior stuff, and then do whatever else is kind of left. Still got to do that sway bar thing up front, the brake lines up front, the brake lines going to the second caliper. I'll install the WinMax W4 pads I'm going to put in there for the handbrake, and then I have some Sparco seat and steering wheel. I'll get that stuff in there, and we'll see how the interior comes together, trim up some stuff. There's still a lot left to do on this car, and then we gotta drive it as soon as we can, but we're still waiting on a drive shaft to be mailed to us. All right, guys, see you tomorrow. Welcome back, another day on the car. Today, I was grinding a lot of little nubs that are in the way inside the trans tunnel that will be in the way of the drive shaft. See all the shiny spots there? Ground those down, because on Supras, it'll kind of rub and grind on that. Occasionally, it'll rub on this. I hope not. This is in a slightly different spot on the SC, so I think we're good to go. The Supra, I think, is a little closer towards the front of the car. Anyways, this is where the e-brake cable runs, but when you put a 3.5-inch drive shaft, usually you'll grind a little edge on it or whatever, which you don't want to happen with a drive shaft. Then you kind of compromise its integrity. Okay, so I made these little angle iron bits. They're not just like a plain piece of angle iron. I trim the edge on both sides and get it to be minimal but still effective. That is where I can land my pipe for the transmission mount. So next up, we already have the clutch installed. I had cut this flange off of the header because I'm gonna use that 2.5-inch V-band that I had shown you guys over here. There we go, I got 2 of those. Let's go outside real quick. I was out here with cut-off wheel and an angle grinder. Cut the 2-bolt flange off of this. So now both ends can accept a V-band. I just need to connect the 2 ends. We'll do that probably not today. I was reading online how to do the neutral safety. I think it's neutral safety switch, something like that. It's the same. I did a Lexus before many years ago that had OEM everything, and we changed it to manual. I remember doing a black and white wire to a black wire, or maybe it was a black and orange wire or something. Anyways, my first thought would be to join these two wires here, and then that'll make the car think it's in neutral or whatever, so it'll start because now it has a clutch. So I'll do that shortly, but first I was gonna get the trans in, make the mount. Also, just real quick fix, I had found this weld tab. It's a 3/16 steel one. I was going to use this to mount onto like this for the extension I would need, and I'll like clock it just right, and then I might have to bend like a step in it, I don't know yet. I'll sand the back of this and this and this, and then it'll just be like, I don't know, ready to put a hot weld on it basically. That would be my attempt at making this stock sway bar work. If it doesn't work, I don't know, I might not run a sway bar, but that didn't take much time. These aren't too expensive, and it would help with snappier transitions and stuff for a heavier car. It helps when you have a front sway bar like that. It'll slow you down on transitions and drifting with no front sway bar, which could be okay, but and you can force it out by like stabbing the brake right before you transition will help, or as you're transitioning, stab the brake and it'll help the car pivot quicker. But if I'm gonna drive with other cars that are smaller than this one, I'm hoping I can get that front sway bar to work. That's all I've done so far today. It's a lot of talking, really dirty. Check this out. It's just dirty under this car. Anyways, I'm gonna try and get that transmission in by myself. I'll use that little like tripod triangle thing over there to, luckily it's really small, I can lift it and then set it on that and I'll walk it into place. So I'm gonna try and get that all in and see if I can build a mount and weld these tabs and maybe do that wiring so then I could try starting it in a little while. Alright guys, alright, I'm done for today. So let me show you what happened. We got that in place. It's just a simple mount. The transmission is in. It was kind of hard to get in by myself, but we did it. The angle iron I had kind of shown you before, and then I just bent a tube. I took 2 tries. I bent one and it almost worked, but then the way I was like cutting it, it wasn't gonna, there was gonna be a huge gap. So threw that one out, bent it again, and it's close enough. It's not like perfect, but it just has these little tabs. I'll take it off and like grind off any ugly part and paint it. That'll work. And then didn't get to the exhaust. Don't need these anymore. These were my spacers so that the motor would stay where I want it. This didn't weld good, but it did work. It's not like ideal placement. It's like gonna bind is what it looks like, so maybe this won't work. It's like I would need to come down, I don't know. I just wanted to try, like I told you guys I'm gonna try. If it doesn't work and it's gonna bend those end links, and I'm just not gonna run a sway bar probably. Or maybe I'll take the time and build something out 1/4 inch thick. Super time consuming, you know, like an hour and a half to build it or 2 hours. These took me like ½ hour to do or whatever. Drill the hole out, bend it, put it on there, weld it. So that is all that happened over the weekend. We're close, guys. This will conclude this next episode. So thanks for watching. So on the next episode of the SC300 drift build, we will cover the final little details, which is set up this wiring so that neutral safety switch is off, build and bleed brake lines and clutch line, and finish the interior bits. That will not happen in one day because now it's the weekdays and I only work on it in the evening. Oh, and we need brake pads. And I'm sure there's some little miscellaneous stuff that I'm not thinking of that as we get to it, it'll be like, oh, gotta do that. But overall, big giant things are all done, all taken care of. It's super close. We need a drive shaft and we need the Guibo piece that goes on the back of the transmission to adapt it to a GM style 4-bolt 1350 U-joint. But anyways, we had Colin sent one, but it was like he was like unsure if it would work and it didn't work. So maybe he has it, but he's all the way in Florida. I'm trying to think where else I could get it. Anyways, we're close, guys. Hope you enjoyed watching this. Hopefully you guys learned some stuff from it. If you do have questions about why, just ask me and I'll see if I can answer it if I know the answer. I know I did say I was gonna show you the angle kit, so don't forget, I'll show you one of the knuckles from the OEM knuckle if you're gonna modify a SC knuckle or super knuckle. I'll show you guys that before we're done here, probably last thing, but let me just finish working on the car. All right guys, thanks for watching. Hey, don't forget to check out the merch. We got all kinds of cool merch this year, and then we have those jerseys, so go check them out. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks for watching.